Okay, well, it's a new week in our class, and looks like I'm on the wrong week in the picture there, so let me get back to the right week. February 4th through the 9th, active learning with and writing with technologies. So this week you have a presentation on writing activities, and really technology has revolutionized the way that we write, as particularly computer technology in the most recent history. Because it used to be that you had to, revisions and things like that were quite an ordeal to make through without like a nice writing editor. But of course, since the advent of the computer and word processing programs like Microsoft Word, and there used to be Word Perfect. I was just reminded of that recently in a show I was watching about Word Perfect. These programs help us to do some interesting editing, some really easy editing of our work, and it makes it a lot easier to do the activities of writing. So that's what we're talking about. And so you'll watch a presentation about writing activities with technology, and then there is a tech talk this week, and this is from Olivia. She talks about Desmos Teacher and a great online tool to support study and learning, especially in mathematics. And so check that out. Maybe that's something that you would be interested in adopting or using in your own classroom. It's not just about mathematics from what I gather from it too. And then there is another technology exploration. So last week we all did this, the It's My Creation. That actually comes from the song Weird Science from the 1980s, I think. It's a really old song, been around for a while. It's my creation. Anyway, this time you're going to check out writing tools. We've created this website. Thank you, Ashley. Um, and this section is on writing, and so you're going to take a chance to explore some other writing-oriented tools. And so don't just look at them, but get into them, play around, create something that you can share on the discussion board. Now it says something like, if you're not already familiar with Google Docs, you really should explore Google Docs. That's something that you should really know. But I'm assuming that most of you are proficient in something like Google Docs, which is good. I think that's important to know about that. But if you're not, be sure that you spend enough time in Google Docs to understand what that's all about. I think that's important. And if you are familiar with it, then there's a lot of other tools out there. Just taking a look at the website here um, to talk a little bit more about them. Kaizena is one that's great for language arts classes. You can even give feedback, like they can submit assignments to you. You can even give feedback um, through the website itself and put comments on their document online. Really makes it easy to do. And it involves more like voice comments or other types of comments. It's a great tool for language arts or any kind of work where you're editing someone's document or grading a student document. For younger, I would say the storybook makers are for younger students. Storybird and Storyjumper allow students to create stories online. Blogging, it's great to know a good blogging tool to understand that as a teacher or as a professional. And then comics. So again, comics are writing. I think we think of graphic novels, right? Those are also writing, and so comics types of programs or applications can help you to create comics. And then there's also word cloud creators, and that would be an opportunity again to check those out. So those are some of the things that I recommend looking at. Maybe one from each category if you don't know them already or if you haven't had a chance to check them out. And also another challenge, like I did last time, challenge you to look for something new or different. Don't just try to find something that you already know something about, but try to get something new or different in the mix so that you're challenging yourself a little bit with these. Finally, for this week, there's the It's My Creation discussion, and you'll post an example of what you have created. Looks like we already have a post on here, which is great, and share what you've created with others and then comment on one another's creations. So that's the discussion for this week as well. So again, it's a chance to get into the technologies a little bit more. We are moving toward, on February 16th, an authentic learning project will be due. And so I'm going to introduce that now in more depth so that you can start getting ready for that. That's the end of next week, so it's coming along. So for this project, you are going to choose an existing lesson plan that you have created and or taught to your students that you feel is not yet very authentic. All right, so you're going to take a look at something that you have done, and your job is to add a technology element to this lesson and also make the lesson authentic. This means that learners must be involved. Remember what we learned about authentic learning. This means that learners must be involved in activities similar to what professionals might do, and learners must see how what they learn is used outside of school. So that's the idea, is to get your learning in this lesson plan that you have to be more meaningful by using authentic learning. And again, a reminder too that authentic learning is usually more closely related to that professional activity for older students than it is for younger students. So if you have early childhood, for instance, students, the authenticity level might have to be adjusted by you as a teacher to know what they can handle the best. So that's just something to know about. And so 2 items should be submitted as part of the assignment. You're going to submit the original unchanged lesson plan. And by the way, some teachers go off of very short lesson plans, I understand. It could just be a paragraph explaining what you're going to do for that part of the day. Or it could be a much more in-depth type of one, like the ones that we require our students to create, such as the Common Lesson Plan or the Madeline Hunter or Charlotte Daniel. I think we'd use Charlotte Danielson format here at the school. So that's something to include, and then submit an updated version that now includes all of these elements. So even if your old lesson plan didn't include very much of these elements, you can add these in. A lesson title and summary, list of content standards and objectives, description of learners including grade and subject, list of materials and technologies used by teacher and students, and then the learning activities that would be completed during the lesson with a detailed description of each activity. In other words, what would the teacher and students be doing during each activity? And these should be, of course, aligned with the objectives that you have in your lesson plan as well. And then a description of the technology element. This is separate from the lesson plan, so make sure you add this in. This is a paragraph or 2 description of the technology element that you are adding to the lesson and how this technology supports the authentic learning in the lesson. So again, we're putting together the authentic learning with the technology to make that come together and to make an authentic, more meaningful learning experience. And then finally, an assessment plan that shows how you would measure student learning. So again, for the description, make sure you include like how is the technology element being used and how does it support authentic learning in the lesson. And then this is a rubric for how you'll be graded. You can check that out again in this assignment. You should be able to view all of this information that I'm sharing with you today. And hopefully you can see that with my face not in the way for the authentic learning project. So that's what you're working toward, is just it's a lesson plan that you have taught maybe before, and you're trying to improve upon this lesson plan by adding some technology into it and adding some authentic learning with the technology. Now, a couple of points to make here. Probably don't choose a lesson that has gone super well every year for your students. You want to choose something that is maybe not the best that you've had in the past, and you want to take a chance to improve on a lesson that you've done in the past. And as we've been exploring technologies, those will help you to choose maybe what you want to do with this lesson. So if you have explored a technology, for instance, on the wiki this week about writing, well, maybe that's a technology that you might want to incorporate in this lesson plan and how you might use it. But whatever technology you choose, make sure you do get in some time with that technology. Try to spend some time figuring it out, understanding how it actually would work with your students, so that you don't go down that road of having a technology that might not work with your audience very well if you don't know much about it. So that's a couple of pieces of advice. Now, if you are not a current teacher and you do not have experience teaching in the classroom, that's okay. You can take maybe a lesson plan that you might have created for a school situation or for another situation and do this with that. Or you can there are other adaptations that you can make. And so just let me know if you have any questions about that, making this work. If it doesn't seem to work for you, we can adapt to make it work. All right, well, I think that's about everything with that assignment. So yeah, good luck getting started this week on active learning and writing with technologies. And then we'll move forward toward that authentic learning assignment. So we'll see you later.